Breaking news! The Denver Broncos are sitting on a ticking time bomb, and hardly anyone is talking about it. While fans are gearing up for what could be a franchise-altering season, there's a high-stakes dilemma brewing behind closed doors at Dove Valley, one that could make or break the Broncos' Super Bowl ambitions. For major contributors from last year's squad, guys who were critical to every win, every fourth-quarter stand, every offensive push, are heading into the final years of their contracts. And here's the kicker: Denver can't afford to keep them all, not without pulling off some serious front office magic. So the question is, who do you pay? Who do you risk losing? And how do you keep the locker room from imploding in the process? That's exactly what I'm diving into today. But before we unravel this roster puzzle piece by piece, do me one favor: smash that like button only if you're a true Denver fan who's been bleeding orange and blue for decades. If that's you, drop a comment below saying, "Go Broncos! My heart bleeds orange and blue." Now let's get into it, because what I'm about to tell you could change how you view this team's future forever. The Broncos are staring down an impossible choice. There are four players: Zack Allen, Nik Bonitto, Courtland Sutton, and John Franklin Myers, who all delivered major contributions last season but are now entering the final years of their contracts. These aren't just any players. These are starters, game changers, locker room leaders. And keeping all four? Practically impossible under the current salary cap unless some serious front office wizardry is at play. Let's rewind real quick. Last year, Denver struck gold with two huge hometown discounts. Quinn Meinerz, who has evolved into an all-pro caliber lineman, so much so that Brian Baldinger called him the strongest player in any offensive line room in the NFL, signed for far less than he would have made on the open market. Then there's Patrick Surtain too. Despite being arguably the best defensive player in football, he's only the fourth or fifth highest paid defensive back right now. That's what we call front office magic. But repeating that kind of feat with four players? That's an entirely different beast. First up in this crucial four-player priority list is Zack Allen. The man is a force of nature. Whether it's his monstrous size, elite motor, or ability to play through injury, Allen is the heart of Denver's defensive line. The man played through so much last season, taped up like a mummy, and yet he still found a way to dominate. Analytics now rank him alongside the likes of Aaron Donald, T.J. Watt, and Nick Bosa in quarterback hits from an interior defensive lineman. That's 40 hits on the quarterback, an absolutely wild stat. Not to mention he possesses the fastest first step of any player at his position. Triple team him, double team him, it doesn't matter, he finds a way. If there's one player the Broncos must lock down, it's Zack Allen. Following him is Nik Bonitto. This is where it gets interesting. Bonitto didn't just have a breakout year, he made a serious statement with 13.5 sacks and defensive touchdowns that changed games. He's not just productive, he's homegrown, drafted and developed right here in Denver. Signing him would send a loud message across the locker room: perform, and you'll get rewarded, whether you were drafted, traded for, or signed as a free agent. Sure, we've got other edge rushers: Jonathan Cooper, Jonah Ellis, Quantez Stiggers, Dondre Tillman, but Bonitto brings something special. The danger here? Waiting might cost us big time. Bet on a down year, and hope to sign him cheaper later? That's risky business. Better to lock him in now before his price skyrockets. Courtland Sutton comes next on my must-sign list. There's more to this than stats and tape. This one's about chemistry. Sutton has become Bo Nix's go-to guy, his security blanket, the leader in the wide receiver room. And despite the pain of losing Russell Wilson, someone he had a strong connection with, Sutton stayed committed, supported Nix, and never let the locker room feel fractured. Some critics argue he'll demand WR1 money and that he's not in the same tier as Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase. But here's the deal. In Sean Payton's system, we don't need a target monster. Bo Nix spreads the ball around like a point guard, hitting more receivers per game than any other QB in the league. Sutton thrives in that system, and more importantly, his leadership is irreplaceable. That brings us to the wild card, John Franklin Myers. I like the guy. The locker room loves the guy. But business is business. If there's someone you have to let walk to make the numbers work, it's probably him. That said, the smarter move might be a trade. There's value in him, and if you're going to lose him anyway, get something in return. It wouldn't be an easy goodbye, but it might be a necessary one. And don't think the league isn't watching what the Broncos do next. Roger Goodell is already raising eyebrows at teams that skirt the spirit of the salary cap by front-loading deals and tossing in void years they never planned to pay. He's even mentioned the Denver Nuggets ownership, the Kroenkes, for pulling this kind of thing. So you can bet the Walton Penner ownership group might already be on Goodell's radar. But until the rules change, we say use every legal tool in the playbook to keep this roster together and give Bo Nix the Super Bowl caliber support he needs. So Broncos country, I've laid out my top 3 priorities: Zack Allen, Nick Bonitto, and Courtland Sutton. If I had to sacrifice one, it's John Franklin Myers. But that's just my take. Now I want to hear from you. If you had to pick only 2 players to re-sign from that list, who would you go with? Stay tuned for the next part where I'll explore what these contract decisions could mean for the Broncos' future cap space, trade options, and their Super Bowl window. If the Broncos front office decides to follow the strategy one just laid out, prioritizing Zack Allen, Nick Bonitto, and Courtland Sutton, what happens next in terms of roster construction and financial planning becomes even more important. Because remember, this isn't just about 2024. This is about laying the foundation for a legitimate Super Bowl run while Bo Nix is still on his rookie deal, which might just be the biggest competitive edge in the entire league right now. Let's start with the salary cap implications. Even though the Broncos found a way to make the math work last offseason, managing to fit in Quinn Meinerz and Patrick Surtain's deals along with absorbing the Russell Wilson dead money, they can't count on miracles every year. Every new deal this offseason needs to be crafted with precision, using mechanisms like void years, escrow payments, and guaranteed cash up front. That's what allowed Denver to squeeze stars into the current cap structure before, and it's likely how they'll have to operate again. And here's where the Walton Penner ownership group really becomes a secret weapon. With deep pockets, they can afford to front-load deals in cash, throwing money into escrow to sweeten the pot without wrecking the annual cap hit. It's exactly what Roger Goodell warned about, but as long as it's legal, Denver would be foolish not to keep exploiting it. Now, let's say we sign Zack Allen and Nick Bonitto to long-term deals. What does that mean for the rest of the edge rushers on the roster? This is where a player like John Franklin Myers becomes a chess piece. Trading him now, while his value is still high, could bring in draft picks or a young, controllable player at a position of need, maybe even cornerback depth or offensive line insurance. It would also send a message that the team isn't just passively reacting to cap challenges but aggressively managing its roster for long-term sustainability. Plus, there's a surplus of rotational edge rushers in the locker room: Jonathan Cooper, Dondre Tillman, Jonah Ellis, and Quantez Stiggers. Denver is better positioned than most teams to withstand the loss of a solid contributor like Franklin Myers if it means keeping stars like Bonitto and Allen. On the offensive side, securing Courtland Sutton does more than just lock in a trusted target for Bo Nix. It stabilizes the entire wide receiver room. Sutton's presence means Denver doesn't have to overpay on the free agent market or roll the dice on an improving draft pick. And it's not just about production, it's about continuity, leadership, and trust. If the Broncos can keep him on a deal that's competitive but team-friendly, it allows Payton and GM George Payton to avoid overspending at a premium position in future off-seasons. This also aligns perfectly with how Sean Payton's offense functions. He doesn't rely on one dominant receiver, but rather a balanced attack where roles are clearly defined and players execute based on matchup. In that system, Sutton can thrive as WR1B without needing a Jefferson-like workload or paycheck. Let's not forget what all of this means for Bo Nix. If Denver handles these contracts correctly and retains their core, they'll be able to surround Nix with one of the most complete rosters in the NFL during his most cost-effective years. We're talking about a potential top 3 defense, elite protection on the offensive line with Meinerz, a deep and diverse receiver core, and a young quarterback who's already drawing fantasy football buzz as a top 6 QB. Not to mention, Payton's system gives quarterbacks a clear structure to thrive within. The window is wide open, but only if the Broncos don't let their stars slip away. And beyond the cap and contracts,